pleasant feelings arising. And you said that the attachment triggers the arising of the pleasant feelings.
That's right.
But I was asking myself, what exactly causes these pleasant feelings to arise?
It's your body. It's the nature of mind and the nature of your senses. Where our mind at the moment is connected through this. We've got a very gross body, and it's a sensory thing. So that's the only way we can trigger pleasant feelings. If you have only if you're in shamatha, which is meaning your senses have completely subdued. If you're in concentration, you've gone beyond your senses. Your mind is naturally blissful because there's nothing preventing it from being blissful, because bliss is its natural state. But because we've got this gross bag of bones, then we don't experience pleasure naturally. We have to have an object because the senses are that gross.
So acknowledging those pleasant feelings, but still also recognizing the attachment that is involved might be important, because the pleasant feelings are not the problem, right? It's rather the attachment.
No, that's exactly the point. But this is a really crucial point. When we study Buddhist psychology, we're going to look at these three categories of states of mind. There are the deluded, neurotic, ridiculous, I-based ones, which are the cause of suffering and are liars and embellishments and rubbish, and we can get rid of them, and they cause our suffering and cause us to harm others. Then there are virtues and intelligence and compassion, and they're the good qualities which cause us happiness, which cause us to benefit others. We want to lessen the first lot and grow the second lot. And then the third lot, I call them the mechanics. I think it's a nice, because if you say neutral, that implies to us that they're not important, and that's not the meaning. That means they're not negative and they're not positive, but it doesn't just mean they're nothing, but they're super important. They're the parts of your mind, the mechanics that make you function. Attention, intention, discrimination, good memory, what we call mindfulness. Many of these are vital, but thieves need good memory, just like a meditator does. So they're not good or bad in their nature, but we need them, and they're really honed in meditation. So like you're pointing out, one in that category is called feeling, which throws us a bit because we think of that as emotion. It's not that meaning. It's a technical term for just simply we either have any millisecond of the day, we're never not having a feeling. There's either pleasant feelings, which is another word for happiness. Unpleasant feelings, another word for suffering. And then there's a third one, which is neutral. So we forget the neutral for now. But so the ones so bottom line is we're desperate for the pleasant ones, which is called happiness. And we do not want the unpleasant ones. So that's attachment's job, this vampire in us, is just the one that drives us to find the object of the senses such that when we have contact with it, pleasant feelings arise. So that's what we spend all our time doing. And then the millisecond the unpleasant feeling is arising, then attachment takes over then to be free of that feeling. So we're spending our lives doing that. So feeling, yes, you would say, the more pleasure the better. So the word pleasant feeling, happiness, bliss, a whole spectrum. The mildest pleasant feeling to the most joyful pleasant feeling. They are simply feeling, and they're pleasant feelings. And that's called happiness. And that's the other point. We're so addicted to believing that the external world is the cause of my pleasant feelings that we conflate the external events with the feelings. So if I'm in love with somebody and you ask me, tell me about your happiness, Robina, I will describe the boyfriend. I won't describe my happy feelings. I wouldn't even know how. We are so addicted. When I think of the suffering experiences of the past, I think of the events. So that's because we're so addicted to the external world. So we've got that completely wrong. Feeling is a mental or a sensory experience. It's mind. It's a function of the mind. So there's nothing wrong with not only is there nothing wrong with pleasant feelings, if you put it really simply, Buddha's basically telling us, hey people, I have found a method of how to get happiness. That's why they say get happiness. But it sounds kind of boring. We say get pleasant feelings. It's a bit shocking. But he's telling you, I've found a method to get pleasant feelings all the time without changing into unpleasant feelings and without having to rely upon external objects. And that's called getting rid of delusions. That's called getting rid of delusions in your mind, because when you've got rid of delusions, your mind is only happy. It is only joyful. So not only is Buddha not wanting us not to be happy, we hear it all wrong. He says, I've got methods to get so happy you won't believe it. That's what he's essentially saying. So yeah, happiness is brilliant. But our trouble is the only way we know happiness now is when we get a sense object. So we're basically junkies. And in the end, all Buddha's saying also, when we start to analyze this subtle level of suffering, he calls it the suffering of change. When we get the cake, when we get the boyfriend, when we get the handbag, we think that's happiness. But what he's telling us is if you analyze it carefully, the first moment of that first taste of cake definitely triggers a happy feeling, but it's downhill from there because the junkie in us, the attachment, is not satisfied, so it wants another piece. It was not happy with that first moment of happiness. We want to get more happiness. But the trouble is, when we start to analyze our experiences, we're going to see the first mouthful was the best. It's downhill from there, but we don't listen. And so by the time we've got to the fifth piece and we're about to vomit, then we'll stop. And then it's turned into the suffering of suffering. That's the tragedy of how we get happiness now. We're basically junkies, you know. So yes, you're right in what you're saying, Bodhgaya. Exactly.
Okay.
But it's crucial to distinguish attachment from happiness. I can't stress that enough. And we won't know that until we study Buddhist model, because it's quite distinct to the Buddha, how he describes all this. Quite precise, his model. You know, it's very fascinating. Then we can start to sort out the mess in here. We can start labeling things accurately. Otherwise, it's just a big mess. Because our trouble is we think attachment means happiness. So that's why we get all fundamentalist and guilty. Oh, I shouldn't be happy. That sounds like attachment. So, you know, a person who thinks they're being a good Buddhist, they're all miserable and depressed. Would you like some cake? Oh, no, I'm renounced. Would you like some sugar? No, I don't care. I mean, it's pathetic. We don't understand. But if you look at the holy beings, I mean, if you're around Lama Zopa, all he does is laugh. He's like hysterically laughing the whole time. Even when he had his stroke in 2011, I was there at the time. And I remember that he was in Bendick in Australia. We're at a Tisha centre, and he had this stroke that evening. They took him off to the hospital. And then Roger and the monks who were with him, they videoed a little talk that he gave that night. And we had this video, and there he was looking like a drunken, senile person, because his mouth was all, you know, and he'd been on these drugs, but he was laughing hysterically. And I mean, these poor Catholic nuns in this hospital couldn't get over these bizarre monks who were just laughing all the time. And there's Lama Zopa, you know, a stroke. He can't talk, he can't walk, and he's laughing, he's joyful. We don't get it, you know, it's too bizarre. So Lama Zopa said one time, you know, when we hear you've got to give up attachment if you want to be happy, we go, oh, I've got to give up my happiness, I've got to give up my heart, because we conflate attachment and happiness. Massive mistake. You know, such a big mistake. Such a good point, Bogdan.
So often we do think we need to get rid of the object, but actually it's not really that. It's rather that we...
It's the attachment, yes.
Yeah.
But
okay.
Bogdan, this is why the levels of practice, this is why the Lam Rim is so bloody powerful. Excuse me, swearing. We don't call it swearing in Australia. I said it once to the lady on the phone in America. She almost sued me, you know. I said, we say that normally in Australia. Anyway, we've got the different levels of practice. So because attachment drives us right now, but we you know, we've got to control the servants of attachment first, which is body and speech. That's why the first level of practice is don't worry about your mind yet. Just control your body, control your speech. Don't kill, don't lie, don't jump on 47 partners a day. It doesn't say don't eat too much cake, because this first level of practice, Buddha exhorts us at least not to do the heavy negative actions of harming others. But other actions will start to deduce. Once I realise I've got to try and control my body and speech and not say bad words to people, I'll also start to think I won't just rabbit on about nothing. Then I'll also start to think, well, I control my body as well. Yeah, but I won't eat too many pieces of cake. Why not? Because I want to try and control my attachment. So you control the servants of attachment first. That's the first. So in that scenario, yes, you leave the object alone because you can't control. It's like if you're an alcoholic, nobody on this planet would expect you to give up attachment to alcohol while continuing to drink alcohol. We know that's insane. So the first level is give up the object. But when you really start to get renunciation, you've given up your attachment because you're so amazing, you know, it wouldn't make you crazy. And as you progress, you get more and more powerful in your renunciation, in your compassion, in your wisdom. So then it just can't even harm you because you're completely under control. So we've got to go one step at a time and know where we're at. That's what we can see in relationships. If, you know, two people do love each other, love means I want you to be happy, it's virtue, but there's so much attachment and there's so much anger, so much jealousy that you fight all the time. Well, then it's best to leave each other. Don't be ridiculous. It's like being in a fire. Don't protect yourself. It's not running away, it's intelligence. So you've got to know where you're at with the objects that trigger your attachment. That's very intelligent. Do you understand?
Yes.
Good.
Certainly.
Good. Well done. Who else, people? What other questions? Good to have questions. No? Okay. Okay, so, okay. So there's different, like I'm saying, there's different levels of practice. This is the key thing. The very first level, and this is what's fascinating, because it just sounds kind of boring. Oh, I want to be a Buddhist. I want to meditate, we'll say. Well, Buddha's basically saying you can't control your mind until you control your body and speech. And we just think that sounds boring. Control your behavior. It just sounds boring. you know. But if you can't control your behaviour, if you can't control the words that vomit out your mouth, and if you can't control your hands that jump on a piece of cake and touch things and take things and look at things and scattered with your body and speech, how can you look at your mind? You can't. It's not possible. So you got to the very first level, junior school, is learn to harness the body and speech. And I tell you, in our relationships at work, with our mummy, with our partner, 99% of the problems we have now, we wouldn't have if we just shut the mouth. Most of us don't go around stealing and raping and killing too many people, okay? But the mouth is our big problem. And we don't think it matters. We don't even consider, even in our ethics in the world, like you can get arrested for stealing $5. You can't get arrested for lying. And that's what we don't value speech, you know. We think I'm allowed to say what I like. We don't consider whether it's right. We just speculate 90% of the times because we have to have an opinion. It just, what vomits out of our mouth, and this is a human thing. We just don't think it matters, and that's complete nihilism. Because Buddha's telling us every millisecond of what we think and do and say matters, meaning they each will sow a seed that will ripen first, if nothing else, in the habit to keep being like that. So if you keep playing the piano the wrong notes, you don't say, oh, it doesn't matter. Of course it matters. If you're playing the wrong notes all the time, what kind of pianist are you producing? You're producing an idiot pianist. So everything matters. It does matter because it's cause and effect. This is really quite profound for us and quite a shock for us. We think as long as no one, you know, and our mind, even more powerful, our mind, our thoughts, we think it's a secret place in here and we're allowed to think what we like. And we are even encouraged to have all kinds of fantasies. We think it's creative. We actually have no sense that what we think plays any role in who we become. This is quite schizophrenic, and I'm really using that word seriously. We're quite disconnected from our own reality, you know. It's so bizarre we think this. So in other words, if we don't, and then we hide our thoughts, we hide what we think. We do not want anybody to know. We keep it so secret, deep, like this cave deep down inside us, my special secret world, you know. Lama Zopa said, the vast majority of all humans on this planet have absolutely no idea that what goes on in their mind plays any role at all in their lives. I mean, this is hard to hear, but this is exactly how demented we are with our mind, you know. But the Buddha's point is cause and effect. And we understand it when it comes to cooking and playing bark and building a building. Every thought you have, if you're an architect, in relation to that building, every thought does count, and every thought has to be the valid thought. Think that. It's very powerful, but we don't have the same view about producing this person, building this person. But that's what Buddha's expertise is, how to build a really good person. We're brilliant at building buildings and, you know, making cakes, but we don't have very good methods, I'm sorry, to build a person. That's Buddha's expertise, with respect. And what builds you starts with your mind. So change your mind, change your behavior. That's how you turn yourself into this marvelous person. It's very practical, and that's why it's important not to hear it as religion, because that's kind of mystical and belief, you know. I mean, we're so bizarre when we start talking like that. This is practical, grounded, daily psychology. And we produce ourselves. Yes, the outside world plays a big role, but not the main role. And that's our bizarre view in the West, that it's the main role. I am the product of somebody else's handiwork. That's the most demented idea for the Buddha. Really bizarre idea, you know. The catalyst, that's all. Mummy, daddy absolutely play a big role. My boyfriend, the weather, everything out there does play a role, but it's a secondary cause. It's a catalyst. The mind and what I do and think and say, they are the main players in who I become. And this is where we start. This is like in junior school, we start to hear about karma, the law of karma, Buddha's view of karma. This is powerful. This is powerful. And if we start to take that view on board, if we choose to, then this is where we stop becoming a victim, stop blaming everybody else, stop feeling like some kind of, I didn't ask to get born, it's not my fault. This person plodding through life to whom good things and bad things happen randomly. I mean, this is a nightmare to live your life like that. But to start to realize I'm the fruit of what I've done, that means I'm in charge of what I become, so I can change me. That already is implied by the law of karma. That already brings less neurosis, more confidence, more courage, you know, owning who you are, even owning what happens to us out there. That's hard. Everything we experience, Lama Zopa says, is our own karmic appearance. That's when we learn about karma. Let's just discuss it here for a second. Everything we think and do and say sows seeds in our mind, and those seeds can ripen in any of 4 ways. This is very clear. Any of 4 ways. So look at your life now. Look at your life now. And you can divide these 4 tracks of karma, your entire life, into these 4 tracks. The first one, we've got the result already, which is we've got the human body. And these karmic seeds were triggered when we died. A few weeks before we found our way to our mother's womb, at the time of death. Lama Zopa talks about this in great detail in his new book called How to Face Death Without Fear. Came out last year as a paperback, or this year. Can't remember. Last year maybe. And it goes into great detail, and this is a crucial thing, because when we die, at the time of death, that's when the karmic seeds are triggered from our bank vault of billions and billions and billions of karmic seeds, because everything we think and do and say sows a seed in the mind, and not just my analogy, obviously, drops into these bank vaults. And then at the time of death, as you're going through the process of death, these seeds are triggered. So that for us, in our case, a very strong virtuous karmic seed of non-killing, practiced no doubt in the context of keeping vows of non-killing, Lama Zopa said, was triggered before we even stopped breathing. And that's already programmed us, right now, programmed us to go to our present mother's human womb. That was already programmed before we even stopped breathing. Secondly, now that now that it was established that we got a human body, because that karmic seed was triggered, the second track of karma is now going to be all the thousands of karmic seeds that produce your personality. Basically, the second one is called the intentions or tendencies similar to the cause. That your tendencies similar to the cause, which just means your habits. Not mummy's habits, they're not daddy's habits. They might share them, but you don't get them from them. That's wacky for the Buddha. You bring your own with you. Those tendencies, like I was good. My mother was a musician, for example. So people say, oh, and then Robina got her music from her mother. No, I didn't. My mother was good at music because she practiced it before. And I came into this life, obviously, she said I had a tendency to be good at, she taught me singing. So I had a tendency to be good at music. Well, I brought that with me too. And then I was conveniently born to that mother so she could teach me and to nourish those karmic seeds of my being good at music. So you own your own tendencies. This is an incredibly powerful point. This is the second way your karma ripens. And you can see, look at the world. You've got Hitler's and Mother Teresa's. Hitler got a human body. That's the fruit of one of his past virtuous actions. Then he's look at his tendencies, and we can deduce by his behaviour. He was a pretty wacky guy. He had weird tendencies to kill and harm and lie, and demented person. And then you look at the Mother Teresa's, who had virtuous tendencies. So we've got to know our own tendencies. It's the second track of karma. Your tendencies, your personality, who you are inside. The third one is called experiences, similar to the cause. Experiences. So we can see we're very social beings. We live in a world of other people, don't we? So the world, from the time we're born until now, our world is occupied by other sentient beings. Think about it. This third way our karma ripens is in terms of how we're seen and treated by others. We can see this is a major way we suffer or are happy. If we're born due to virtuous karma, we're born to a lovely mother. She's got money in the bank. We get a good education. People think we're wonderful. They believe our words. They think we're cute. They like being around us. We're treated nicely. We've got a good reputation. All of this is not because you're a nice person. You might be a wacko person. In here, that karma is from past actions. Well, this one of how you're seen and treated by others, that comes from past actions as well. That's why you can, let's say you have a tendency to tell the truth. So that's one track of karma. You've got a tendency to tell the truth from past truth-telling. But you've got the karma from past lying to not be believed. This is a major way we all suffer in life. We think we're a nice person, but people don't like you. People don't believe your words. People think you're being angry all the time. People lie to you, steal from you, murder you, rape you. Look at the world. Look at the world. So there's how you're seen and treated by others, which is called experiences similar to the cause. And then there's your own tendencies, and there's separate tracks of karma. This is shocking to us. When we understand this, we can start to understand why bad things happen to good people. And we can see why good things happen to bad people. Look at Mr. Trump. People say he lies, okay? The Washington Post is tracking his lies the last 4 years. How many? 37,000, I don't know, whatever. Now we know 10 million more people than in 2016 voted for Mr. Trump this year. So clearly 70 million people in America, at least the ones who voted, think they love him. You listen to interviews, they will believe Every word he says. They think he's like a saint. These fundamentalist Christians think he's a gift from God. Other people see a monster, a deluded maniac, a liar, a thief, proud, arrogant. We know this, we can see. It's just so bizarre. That's because he's got one lot of karma from virtue in the past by being humble. So the people who think he's gorgeous, that's because of his past humility. He's spoken from a past life. He's got lots of truth-telling karma, and people believe his words. But then another group of people, he's got other karma with them, and they hate him. This is why some people love us and some people hate us. We've got different karma with them. So how we're seen and treated by others is one thing, and who we are is another. That's why you've got a person, let's say, who's a thief and a liar and a cheat and mean and nasty, but is very handsome and has people adore them and treat them nicely and got good reputation, make money easily. They're seen as so special. Or I've got people in prison who are completely kind, good people who've been falsely accused, who've not even lifted a finger to harm anybody, but they're seen as a monster. So how we're seen and treated by others is one track of karma from a bunch of past tendencies, past actions. And this is why, because we're social beings, we do actions in relation to others. So they're going to do those same actions back to us. We create history with each other. Karma's not random. Karma is not good luck and bad luck. Karma's not punishment and reward. It's a natural law that just plays out. No one's running it. And nothing can be random. If it's a law, it can't be random. This is very shocking to us. This is Buddha's view. So when we understand these that's three ways karma ripens. And the fourth one is called environmental karma, the physical world itself, how it impacts upon you. We know some people live in places that are disgusting and polluted and smelly and gross and moldy and ugly. Next door neighbour's got a gorgeous house. That's personal environmental karma. Everybody can eat peanuts and one person will die. That's environmental karma, the way the physical world impacts upon you. So with COVID-19, it's very interesting. We can see there's two ways that karma is ripening with COVID-19. The ones who are getting it and die. So a person who gets sick, that's environmental karma of past killing. The physical world harms you. They got COVID-19 from their sister. So that physical world, which includes your sister, you got sick. But then you got the karma of experience similar to the cause of killing, and now you die. You die young. So you get killed or die young. That's experience similar to the cause of past killing. But you get sick or the physical world harms you. And right now, human beings are the physical world for us. We can't even kiss our girlfriend. We can't even touch our mother because we could die. So that's the environmental karma, and as the whole world is having it, of killing. So there's environmental karma, the way the physical world impacts upon you. So in killing, for example, could mean environmental karma, you live around people who are sick and dying all the time. That's environmental karma of past killing. The experience similar to the cause of past killing is you die or get killed. The tendency similar to the cause is you have a tendency to kill. These are three separate things. When we can know this, we can suddenly work out our life. We just go, oh, it's karma. How? Well, how does it work? I don't know. It's like saying, oh, it's botany. You've got to know the details. Even these details are so powerful. Who you are inside, what happens to you in relation to other sentient beings, and the environment itself. It's very powerful. This is Buddha's view. And so everything that happens, in other words, we created the cause. There's no point in blaming somebody else. You know, we say I didn't ask to get born, and if we have the materialist view, you're right. Your mother and father decide to make you. So you've got two wacko mothers and fathers, and they're wacko. They make another wacko person, give you anger and love and depression and jealousy. Thanks a lot, mum and dad. That's a bizarre view for Buddha. They can't do that. You bring your own with you. And you create the cause to be born some wacky mother. You get the mother you deserve. So don't blame your mum. Don't blame anybody. Just recognise it's karma, you know. Everything's our own karmic appearance. Whatever you see in front of you. Ugly, beautiful, noisy, soft, sweet, you know, our karmic appearance. And this is helping us understand emptiness, you know. It's very powerful. This is the first level of practice, but this is profound. It informs your practice all the way through. But we see everything out there as if it's not fair. How dare that person say that to me? How dare that thing happen to there? How dare I have no money? How dare we have these bad politicians? No wonder we get angry all the time. When you start to have the view of karma, you can't get angry. It's not possible. When you have the view of karma, it's not possible to be angry, if you probably have it. Practice it. Because, you know, why be angry? I remember I said a Tibetan friend of mine, 30 years ago, and he'd been tortured in Tibet, and he escaped, right? And he was telling me about it, and he was sad. And I said, do you ever get angry? And he laughed. He laughed. He said, what do you mean angry, Robina? What for? It's our own fault. That's hilarious for us, speaking that way, because it's a casual way of saying it's karma, because when you know, that's why I like to use the analogy of a garden. If you've got a beautiful garden outside and all these veggies in it and flowers and herbs and all lovely things, you, on the one hand, you'll never sit back with this hubris and think, oh, aren't I lucky? Look at that. You don't think you're lucky. Luck means it's happened by accident. You know you worked hard, so you'll never just think, oh, aren't I lucky? You'll know you deserve it because you earned it. You worked, and you'll never waste it. Equally, if there's a garden full of weeds, you don't say, who put weeds in my garden? I don't deserve weeds. You don't say that. Why? Logic, because it's your garden. So if it's your garden, how can you say you don't deserve? You did it. You own it. So you put your money where your mouth is. So of course you won't be angry. That's how Jidro was. It's just so natural for Tibetans. 1,200 years karma's been their worldview, in their mind, in the bones of their being, natural. You laughed when I said angry. Of course you wouldn't be angry. This is very heavy for us. We think anger is intelligent and helpful. It's not because we think we're innocent victims. We think everything is someone else's fault. Which doesn't mean people don't harm us. People do harm us. The world is terrible. The world does terrible things to each other. That's not denied. It's just that karma's the explanation, that's all. And we are players in our own life. We're not victims of it. That's the idea. This is early. This is first stage level of practice. And that keeps getting deeper and deeper as you start applying it, thinking about it every day. And that can alleviate so much fear. Talk about fear. That alleviates so much fear. Because why we have fear is we think, oh my God, why is this happening? Oh my God, this is unbearable. I can't bear this. We panic, But when you know it's your karmic appearance, you're there, you created it. So there's no fear. How can there be fear? Then you have courage and you own it and you can work with it and understand it and then change, That's the point. You become kind of brave when you have the view of karma. It's very powerful. I know when I first heard the teaching when I was 30 or something, I didn't know what Lama Zopa said most of the time. His teachings were so arcane, this medieval stuff. But I knew the word karma was so powerful for me. I knew that was something I'd missing in my life. I knew that was so powerful for me, at the time I'd been a radical political activist, about 10 years, really extreme. Totally. I didn't even have I had a job for about a year. Most of the time I lived on the dole. When I was living in London, I lived on the dole, £5 a week or something. Out there demonstrating, doing all these things. I didn't even want a job. I wanted to change the world. It was so noble, So, first of all I was a hippie and then I became a radical lefty. And then I got involved in the late 60s, early 70s. I was supporting all the Black Panther movement. I remember, doesn't matter all the reasons. We had a group in London. And then feminist, So it was a serious process I went through trying to find the reason for why there was suffering on the planet. So first I blamed all the non-Catholics when I was a Catholic, and then I blamed all the straight people, and then I blamed all the rich people, then I blamed all the white people, then I blamed all the male people. And I literally had exhausted all options. There was no one left. It was quite intense. Then I met the lamas and they said, you should look at your mind. I'd never heard of that before. So I've been doing that ever since. So I was always looking out there, Now I forget the reason I'm saying this. Blaming, angry, all the time, angry. How there, who's this, who that, where they're out there, all the time, angry, all the time, angry. Noble as well, and wanting to make the world a better place. But the blame mode, out there somewhere, out there. And all these innocent victims, That's the view we have. It's the world's view. So that hasn't changed. Racism is just as bad as ever. Look at all the stuff that's happening recently. It's just as bad. I mean, back when I was demonstrating back, I remember I have a picture of me back in there about George Jackson and the Soledad Brothers and Angela Davis in 1971. No different. Exactly the same, if not even worse in some ways now. So nothing changes. It's there. But it's the suffering's still there. I haven't stopped seeing the suffering. But just the Buddhist view is a different analysis of why. And that informs the practice. And that informs your action. Not based on anger. His Holiness said, when a person was interviewing him about the world and about political action, and this journalist said, anger seems very good. It makes you act, and it does. It's true. And His Holiness said, I know what you mean, but if it's mainly because of anger, the action you do won't last. You just get exhausted and fed up, and you give up. But if it's motivated by compassion, then you never give up. And I always quote Martin Luther King. It blew my mind when I heard him say this. You could tell he wasn't an angry guy. He was not an angry guy, but look at his action. He never stopped. He said, it's good to find fault. It's good to see, my God, there's racism, there's this and that. But then you say, what can I do to help? That is exactly what compassion is. So that has to inform our action. So that doesn't change. The view is exactly the same as Buddhists. I've got a different view now, a different interpretation. Not based on anger, not based on blame, not based on innocent victims. We're all in this together. We've all created our own reality. So you have compassion on the basis of that. That's the idea, So karma is such a powerful one. Many people don't want to know about karma. I think it's silly, or they're embarrassed to admit they think that they had a past life, But it's a pretty intense philosophy, and it underpins the whole of Buddhist worldview. You can't Buddhism without the view of karma it just collapses into a heap of nonsense. It's not sustainable as a philosophy, as a coherent philosophy. It's not sustainable. You've got to posit karma, because that posits mind, which is not physical. It posits the mind as beginningless and endless. It posits there's no creator. It posits that everything we do is a result of our past actions, and then experiences of happiness and suffering, and then how to change it. All of Buddhist practice is informed by karma. The Buddhist analysis of the universe is informed by karma. It's the fundamental Buddhist view, Many people don't want to know about it, and that's fine. That's why His Holiness is so amazing, talking to scientists. He doesn't talk about karma. He never even touches it. Doesn't even go there. Doesn't matter. There's different approaches, Many people like Buddhism, like mindfulness, will never think about karma. It's okay. You don't need to. But if you want the big picture, you've got to factor it in, And that means you don't just say, oh, I believe in karma. That's like saying, oh, I believe in botany. I don't care if you believe it. You've got to know it. What's the point of believing? I believe in mathematics. It's useless. You can get away with it because people know it. You can manage. But if your mother says, go buy me 5 oranges, you can't do it because you don't know how to count. So you can't just say it's all karma. It's all botany. It's all just math. Learn it. It's there to be applied. That's what we forget, So the very first level of practice, abide by the laws of karma. That means control your body and speech. Control the slaves of your mind. Then you get to be your own therapist, and you do the unpacking and unraveling where you become a Buddhist. And this is where sanity starts to come. This is where clarity starts to come. Courage. Because of attachment, this junkie is like this infant that only wants the nice things. And because naturally it won't get what it wants 1,000 times a day, then we have 1,000 mental breakdowns a day. But little baby mental breakdowns, little baby mental panic attacks when something goes wrong. We stamp our feet and shout. That's just called annoyed, irritated, frustrated, upset. That's anger, mild anger. And then the serious ones. So we have to pay attention every second and navigate it and start to change it and argue with it. I always use a stupid example. If you're doing the dishes and you drop a cup and you get angry. I've never met a person yet who drops a cup doing the dishes and doesn't get upset. Never, not once. What's upset means anger. You're annoyed, how dare. Or you're feeling bad because mummy will hit you or something. It's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. We don't pay attention. And then what do you do with that? You notice you're angry. Oh, don't be ridiculous, Robina. It's okay. Drop another cup. It's all right, honey. Don't worry about it. Straight away you fix it. Catch your mind and fix it, You're annoyed with your husband because he's slurping his tea. Shut up, Robina. Give it a break. Let him slurp his tea. Right there, you just counteracted it. That's being your own therapist. So when you do it with, like I said before, you do it with the baby things, then you're ready for the big things. You train yourself. You can't go and play Federer overnight. You've got to train for years. So train in your mind small baby things. But we don't pay attention. That's our problem. We've got to start paying attention. Every second. And then label what's arising in the mind. That's anger. That's annoyance. That's jealousy. That's attachment. That's depression. That's this. Because every thought, and there's 1,000 a second, even in the West we say that, each of them has got a label. The thought has a certain name. It's a particular character. It's a negative one or a positive one. You have to know which one it is. It's very precise. Needs great skill. That's what we have to learn to develop, that level of clarity. And then we can navigate our lives beautifully. Even without getting concentration, you can still do so much good. You can become braver in the face of the dramas. Become less up and down, less extreme, less panic-stricken. And this is real, down-to-earth stuff. It's a hard job. It won't happen overnight, but it's possible. It's doable. All the methods are there. What else, people? Questions? 7:40. From me at 7:40. Who's that?
I have a question.
Who's I?
Joanne.
Hello, Joanne. Good. Talk to me, sweetheart.
Hi. When you talked about the 4 ways that karma ripens at birth.
At death. Oh, no, sorry.
At death.
Triggered. Yeah, they ripen, but they're triggered first at death, which programs you to go to that particular life. Yes, to be precise. Yes.
Okay.
Good.
And the first way is if you have not killed in the past, you come into a human body.
No, Yeah, more, okay, but yeah, that's right. Strong, intentional non-killing, not merely not killing, but intentional non-killing. In particular, as Lama Zopa says, practice in the framework of living in vows. And maybe I should talk about the power of vows. That's the likely cause of that seed being triggered and our going to our present mother's human womb. Yes.
Okay, but then the fourth way, the environmental karma, where you maybe are you die of COVID, or you're surrounded by people that are sick all the time.
That's right.
That is the result of previous karma of killing.
That's right. Exactly.
So do the four ways operate completely independently of each other?
Not independently, but they're separate. We've got, what's that noise? Someone's got their muted on or off. Galaxy M21. I think you got to unmute yourself. Galaxy. Who's Galaxy M21? The gentleman with glasses. Who are you? Can you please mute yourself? He can't hear me. Who's got Galaxy M21? The gentleman with glasses. Can you hear me? He can't hear me. Never mind. Okay, don't worry. So then we've got millions, every single second of the day we're dropping different seeds in our bank vaults. And a complete action, for example, one where there's got, and I'll go into this maybe, there's an action called a complete action, which has got killing would be, there's an object called a mouse. There's intention to kill it and the motivation to harm it. Then there's the object, the action, you do it and the mouse dies. That's a complete action. That drops a seed in our bank vault of killing, which causes us to be born in a lower realm. So our killing karmas, they're complete karmas. They've got to have those four things in place. And there are millions of other karmic results that haven't got all the things in place. So they result as the intention to do it again. They result as it happening to you, and they can result as the environmental result. They're not all complete actions. There's just millions of different levels of karmas, and they all ripen in these four different ways. So we can see it's obvious, just because, there's Hitler. He got a human body. That's the fruit of non-killing. But we can see he killed millions of people, didn't he? He had the tendency to kill, didn't he? Can you see? Do you understand now, Joanne? Do you see what I'm saying?
For sure.
Okay.
Can I ask one other quick question?
Darling, absolutely.
When you said that karma is not random, I'm mostly curious. Does karma then ripen with specific people? Say in another lifetime you cheated on your husband. Does that mean that you'll come back with that particular person in this lifetime and they'll cheat on you?
Well, think about it. Think about it in an ordinary sense in your daily life, Joanne. Think about it. You build up relationships with people, don't you? You agree with that?
Yes.
You build up relationships, so you build up a connection, don't you? So you maybe, and then as soon as you see that person, you go towards them because you're familiar with them, aren't you? Well,
or you go away from them.
Or either way.
Right.
That's the same with karma. Yeah. If karma is a natural law, which means it's not created by somebody, it's not run by somebody, it's not punishment, it's not reward, it's a natural law, then it just happens, it has to be coherent and logical. It has to be coherent and logical. So if you spend your life being loving and kind and generous for 25 years to one person, you create an intensely strong karmic connection with that person. I mean, for you to, your mind go to, can somebody unmute, can people please mute themselves? Somebody's got, anyway, never mind. It's changing all the time. Do you understand what I'm saying, Joanne? It's logical. You create an intensely strong connection with a certain person. And then you're going to, of millions of people all having sex at this moment, one consciousness does not randomly go to any womb. It goes to that particular womb whom you have strong, powerful karmic connection with.
Yeah.
It's clear.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Okay.
So it can't be, if it's a natural law, it can't be random. It's got to be coherent and logical. And do you understand?
Yes. Yeah. Thank
it's
you.
It's quite a powerful concept, isn't it? It's very surprising to us.
But it seems like that happens, when you've had a relationship with somebody, when you meet them the first time, you have an automatic like for them or an automatic dislike. That feels like it's a karmic
That's right.
thing.
That's from past, yeah. And one of the ways that karma ripens with us, with people, with other people, is that the way they appear to us as ugly or nice or beautiful or mean or nasty or lying or stealing is clearly very much about their own past tendencies, but about our relationship with them. So we know we meet a certain person, we just think they're totally gorgeous. There's no logic to it. It's because we've got past strong virtuous karma with them. You meet some people, you cannot stand them. You got some negative karma with them, you know. That's right. It's interesting, isn't it?
Yes. Thank you.
Who else?
Perfect.
Questions, please.
Venerable Robina, I have a question. Monica here.
Hello, Monica. Talk to me, sweetheart.
Hi. In the context of karma, suppose you're in an abusive or a toxic relationship,
Yes.
and you decide to move out of it. So are you actually going to, that karma will still be unfinished. So how do you actually, resolve these kind of things?
I understand. Monica, that's a really good point. First of all, it's very intelligent. If you cannot handle that relationship, if you're not a highly evolved bodhisattva who has methods of using that relationship for their own practice, if we're not that capable, do you understand what I'm saying? We're not capable. The most intelligent thing to do is to leave it. But most of us just sit there like idiots and put up with it, and then we kill each other before we realize we're so stupid, We have no will. We have so much fear. So you must finish it. But the point is, you don't have to clean up that relationship with each other. You have to clean up your part of it. So that's what purification practice is. You recognize it's due to past karma. You learn to work on your own mind. You look at your own attachment and your anger and your fears. You work on those, and you learn to forgive the other person, have compassion for the other person. Then you clean up your part of it. So when you meet them again, it won't be a problem for you. It might be a problem for them if they haven't worked on their mind. You don't need to work it out with them. You work it out in yourself. Clean up your part of it. Do you understand, Monica?
Yes.
That's what purification practice every day is necessary. So important.
I have another related question.
Yes.
If somebody is harming you, and you, in order to defend yourself, suppose like you're being accused of something which is a false accusation, and in order to defend yourself, you speak the truth, and that brings someone else in harm's way, then how do you actually reconcile that with karma?
This is when it gets very tricky. If you speak the truth to defend yourself, but you end up accusing somebody else, this just makes it more difficult. So it's not that easy sometimes. It's not that simple. We can see that. So you've got to, it's not easy. So it depends on where we're at in our practice. It depends on where we're at. If we're, again, at the level of really being a brave practitioner, we will happily take the blame. It's a very powerful practice. But if you're not ready for that one and you sit there being a victim and you go crazy, you've got to know what you're capable of, Monica. But as much as we can, if it has to implicate somebody else, that's also very difficult. It's not that easy. You've got to try and want to do what's most beneficial. Try to do the least harm. It's not easy sometimes. And it depends on the level of it, depends on how serious it is. There's so many factors in there. We've got to always have the wish not to harm. We've always got to have the wish to try and be brave, to accept karma. But we do what we can according to our capacity. It's the most general answer I can give. And it's not, sometimes things are very difficult. Life is very difficult, Monica. Doesn't mean it's easy. Do you understand?
Yes.
But all we can try and do is be as honest and as ethical as possible. And know that even if you do defend yourself, you still might not be believed. Do you understand?
Yes.
So it's not, and it's just we've got to be really skillful to do whatever we do with the best motivation, to try not to do harm, and also defend. Yes, fine. But if you're brave enough, if you can bear the blame, but it depends on how difficult. So many. It's just hard to know. Monica. Do you understand what I'm saying, my dear?
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you. What else, people?
I have a question. Hello.
Hello there. Yes, talk to me.
Anugraha. Yeah.
Oh, yes, darling.
Yeah. I have a feeling that how do I access the pure nature of the good parts of a being, of myself. So I've been practicing meditations on compassion and so on. So is this a valid thing or is it an illusion?
What do you mean?
Because
what do you mean illusion, Anugrah? What do you mean illusion? What are you talking about?
I mean, maybe I just cultivate something, but I feel the results, the fact that
Anugrah, wait, stop. Go one step at a time, please. What on earth do you mean? First you said, how do I access my true nature? And then you said, I do meditation on compassion. And then you said, is that an illusion? What do you mean by that bizarre question? Is it an illusion? What are you talking about? What do you mean by that
So
question?
is it a valid way?
What is
it
it
a
about?
valid way of access?
But you know the answer. There are states of mind that are neurotic. If you sit there and do a meditation on jealousy and anger, guess what you're going to feel? Miserable. If you're going to do a meditation on compassion, of course it's valid. What else would you do? I mean, what do you mean by valid? Why would you doubt it? What else is there?
I don't know.
But why do you doubt it?
Yeah, it is stupid. I realize.
It's foolish to doubt. That is what practice is, my dear.
Yeah.
That's called practice. Going against the delusions and growing the goodness. That's it. Then as you get better and better and you start to get concentration and then you start to get, you start to access your mind at a subtler level, then you can really taste the bliss of your mind, the natural bliss of your mind when you're more advanced. But every time you practice, that's called practice. Of course it is. How can you think it's an illusion? That's a bizarre idea.
Good. Yeah.
Good.
Just
Keep doing it.
Good. Thank you.
All right, darling.
Thank you.
What else, people? So today what we've done is we've talked about a bit about karma, a fundamentally necessary thing from the big picture point of view, if you're interested, because it informs your whole way you see the world, and it helps you understand emptiness. There's no inherent, nothing has an intrinsic nature. We talked about the mind and how all our emotions are rooted in being conceptual stories way deep down. That's why we have to get to a deeper level of this cognitive process as ours in day-to-day life. Forget about meditation. Start to hear the stories before they are expressed as emotions. That's the real skill we have to learn. Then, as I said, we can learn to navigate our life without going too berserk. We can manage. But to wait until the emotion comes, that's the wheels falling off, and it's damage control is the best you can do. But that's our tendency, That's really what we have to change. And the other thing we touched on is that we only just touched on it in passing. In the Four Noble Truths, Buddha talks about different levels of suffering. So the obvious one, the gross one, is when the bad things happen. And that's why we only notice is when the bad things happen. But the second kind of suffering is, he calls it the suffering of change. And that's when the good things happen. And because we like the feelings that arise when we get the cake and get the boyfriend and get the gifts and the money and the job, we sit on our laurels and go, aren't I lucky? But that's even a level of suffering as well, because then we cling to it and grasp at it and want it to last forever. And so we end up polluting it and destroying it, and it turns into more suffering, the gross level. So we can catch our minds at a subtler level and start to navigate even the happy feelings. We can also give up attachment then, That's really crucial part of our practice. And that's about what we talked about. Now it's time to go home, practically. Gone like a dream.
Can I pose another question?
Who's I?
Bogdan.
Yeah, Bogdan.
But I lost my cam.
Never mind, darling. Okay, I can hear you. Talk to me.
Okay. So just to make sure that I understand, or
yes.
to implement the view of karma correctly.
Yes.
So assume I'm walking into my bathroom, and I live in a shared flat with other people. So
yeah.
Someone left dirt in the sink.
Right, exactly.
Like
or shit in the toilet.
Yeah,
the worst
something
thing possible.
like that.
Somebody else's stuff in the toilet is about the worst experience we can have. Yes. So what's the question?
Yeah. So how do
karma,
I interpret that?
Good. That's called environmental karma, and it's a stink. It's a smell, isn't it? A disgusting smell, right? You agree?
Mm.
That's not a tendency in your mind. No one's doing it to you. It's just it's the physical environment. Would you agree? The physical environment stinking.
Yes.
Would you agree? Good. You say great. You just purified some negative karma because you've had an unhappy experience, and this disgusting smell, which is from harming others in the past, the disgusting smell is environmental karma of harming. That's what it is. So you agree, I've just purified that, fantastic. And then breathe it in and have a happy mind. That's how you interpret it. Did you get that?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Good, fantastic. Did it make sense?
But couldn't that also be referred to? That's why I asked myself. Refer to experience similar to the cause.
No one's doing it to you. No, there was no person harming you. It was a bunch of shit harming you. The person did shit, but they're not doing it to you. They're not shitting on you. It's just in the toilet. So it's you meeting a bad smell. You see what I'm saying? It's you meeting a bad smell, and that's environment. Yeah. Even for environmental karma, if you get killed on purpose, that's the experience similar to the cause of killing. Okay. But just meeting a person with COVID-19 and they breathe on you, that's environmental karma. They're part of the environment in that context. They're not doing it to you on purpose. I would suggest that. I mean, like a peanut that harms you or a person, it's the same. They're both environmental karma. The physical world, even if you're living around smelly, like sick, dying people, that's the environmental result of past killing. That your environment's full of sick and dying people, or you live in a war zone or something. But if it happens to you, usually personally, you get killed by a person, that's pretty strong karma with that person. You with me? I mean, that can be. You can
Yeah,
sort of
totally
Yeah,
makes
yeah.
it clear.
Yeah.
And the tendencies are just referring to myself.
Yes, your own mind, your own tendencies,
right.
your own habits.
All right.
Your own habits, baby. That's exactly
Wonderful.
right. That's right.
Thanks.
Thank you, Bogdan. Very clear. Thank you so much. Well, you people.
Venerable
Yes, who is
Natasha.
there? Who is it?
Natasha,
Good, Natasha. Talk to me, sweetheart.
regarding this environmental karma
Yes.
and COVID-19,
Yes.
so would it be reasonable to assume that majority of the people in the world today have environmental karma that is ripening at the same time?
Yes, it's the killing. Environmental is like shared by lots of people, isn't it? And it's the karma that takes the longest to ripen. It would have been from seeds planted many, many, many lifetimes ago. The whole of us we're all experiencing that. Yes, exactly.
At the same time. So
Yes,
everyone's
that's right.
karma catching up with them.
You can see it sometimes individual. A person who can't stand peanuts, they will die, but everybody else is nourished by peanuts. But if the water's polluted, if the food is polluted, if that's shared by millions of people, isn't it, in one place? Or equally, that the place is beautiful and fresh and clean and lovely, and millions of people live in places like that. That's collective environmental karma of past non-killing. Do you understand?
Right. So this would be an environmental karma of killing? If people are dying from
all the
COVID?
actions we do, if we look through the list of the 10 non-virtuous actions, for example, like abusive speech, the past karma of abusive speech, abusing people, is that you get born in a desert where nothing can grow. If you have the karma of lying, the environmental result of that is nothing equal. It's always variations. All the different negative karmas bring, in terms of environmental result, bring variations of a disharmonious, not working environment. Things don't grow, things are ugly, things are broken, things are smelly. Like sexual misconduct, for example, from past lives, the environmental result of that is that everything's stinky and smelly and shitty. It's really revolting and dirty. But environmental karma of killing is that the physical world actually harms you. You get sick. Your body is very weak and you get sick. So all the different actions have a different type of all the results. So the experience similar to the cause of past lying is you get lied to or you don't get believed, even if you're telling the truth. The experience similar to the cause of telling the truth is even if you're lying, you will get believed. So experience is usually related to people, and if you look at the way you're treated, that tells you the action you must have done, good or bad. Environmental is the more broad the world we occupy, which includes other sentient beings, Do you see? And all the different actions bring their own result of any kind, of each of these kinds. Environmental kind, experience similar to the cause, or the tendency to do it. Do you see?
Yes.
Good. Thank you, Natasha. Okay, dearest people, that's it. Another 90 minutes gone like a dream. I hope there's some food for thought. And make the strong aspiration. If anything made sense, I'm going to try and practice it. I'm going to try and apply karma. Trying to see everything as my karmic appearance. Trying to own it. And it doesn't happen overnight. Nothing's magic. We know that. You just got to practice seeing it like that. Owning it. That's the most powerful one about karma. It makes you own things. It's your vegetables. They're your veggies. They're your weeds. No one put them there. So that means they're yours. When you own things, then there's less fear. There's more accountability. There's more courage. That's the real result of understanding karma. I find it very powerful. We become grown up. This is my karmic appearance. I must have created it. So then you don't just sink into misery and guilt. If it's bad, you go, what can I do to fix it? You own it. Instead of thinking, oh my God, why is this bad thing happening to me? That's the usual view. Karma means you own it. And that alleviates fear already. Already there you alleviate fear. It's so powerful. Yes, I find that. So for me, the view of karma is so incredible. So very amazing. And then we think of just knowing your mind every day, catching it before it gets big, catching it before the wheels fall off, and fixing it. Catching it, counteracting it. And then learning to live with it. Because as you get to see your mind, like I said, you think you're getting worse. We're not. Be happy. Be happy. There's two things. Let's say I'm having let's say I'm angry with my boyfriend. so angry, and I go to see Jennifer, my friend, and I abuse my boyfriend. He's this and he's that, and I hate him. He's evil. He's this, and she agrees with me. Yes, isn't he evil? That's called increasing anger. But if I'm really working on my mind, and I go to see my friend Jennifer, and I weep and I cry and I talk about my anger so that I can work with it, so I can get rid of it, that's not being angry. That's opposites. We've got to see the difference between actively be happy to be angry and agree with it and buy into it, or seeing the anger come because you're purifying and go, oh my God, this is insane, look at this, and you learn not to buy into the story. You let it come, you don't be scared of it, and you realize, thank goodness I'm purifying, and try not to believe it too much. Try to not believe in it. There's a big difference, and not to be scared of what's in our mind, because the dirt has to come out. We've got to understand that. Just like when you go on a diet, you get farts and smelly breath. You know it's a good sign. We understand it. Same with our mind, So be happy. It's a struggle because we want to believe in anger. We want to believe in our pride. We want to believe in our hurt. We sit there with our self-pity. It's natural, but try not to believe in it. Cry, weep, have it all come up, but offer it to your guru. Don't believe in it too strongly and kind of make aspirations for it to go away. But be brave. There's all these crazy roommates. We have to learn to live with them, our own crazy thoughts. It's a very powerful view, I tell you. Don't be scared of it. Don't be guilty. It doesn't help. All right, people? Jangchob, sem chogra poche, ma ke panam ke gyuchi, ke panyam pa me payang, gong ne gong du pelba shog. Thank you, darlings. That's it. See you next week. All being well.
Thank you, Venerable. See
Much
you
love,
next
everybody.
week.
Thank you, sweetheart.
Thank you, Venerable.
Thank you
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.